the first recipe I want to share today is Mandelhörnchen or almond horns. And this is a great recipe to use up that egg white from all of our other cookie recipes. And it's also gluten-free because it has no flour. So for the almond horns, you're going to need 200 grams of marzipan. I've already just torn mine up a little bit. I think it just makes it a little bit easier to mix everything together. 75 grams of powdered sugar, 100 grams of almond flour or just grated almonds, and 1 egg white. Now we're simply going to add everything into a bowl. And we're going to knead this together until we have a nice smooth dough. I'm going to chill my dough for around 30 minutes just to make it a little bit easier to shape and a little bit less sticky to handle. But alternatively, you can just wet your hands and then shape them right from the dough. It's just going to be a little bit sticky, but that's okay. The dough is a lot less sticky, which is perfect. So at this point, I'm just going to measure out little dollops of dough and shape it into a nice crescent. And again, you can make these as big or as small as you want. So traditionally, they are pretty big. They're like this big. So they're perfect to go with your coffee. But I think especially around the holidays, I think a smaller cookie is a little bit nicer because you can have a couple more. But do whatever you want. Now the last thing we have to do before these wander into the oven is brush them with some egg white, which is going to act as our glue. And then we're going to roll them into some almonds. Now this is around 50 grams of almonds. I probably won't need all of it, but just putting it out there. These can wander into the oven that's been preheated to 180 degrees Celsius or 360 degrees Fahrenheit for around 15 minutes. Now, while our almond horns were cooling off, I already melted down some chocolate. So this is about 100 grams of melted chocolate. Now, traditionally, you would just dip the ends into your melted chocolate. But if you do that, you're only getting chocolate on the end pieces, and then the bite in the middle has no chocolate. And I'm a big chocolate fan, and I think every bite should have chocolate. So alternatively, you can just drizzle on your chocolate all over it. That way every bite has chocolate. But I think for the first time ever, I'm going to make these very traditionally and actually dip them into my melted chocolate. And there you have it, our almond horns are all done. Now for the next egg white cookie, we're going to be making macaroons. So for that, you're going to need 2 egg whites, 100 grams of sugar with a pinch of cinnamon, and I'm also going to add in a little bit of almond extract. Now I usually make 2 different types of macaroons, so I just split my batch in half. So I do half of it with 100 grams of shredded coconut and 100 grams of ground hazelnuts. Now, if you don't want to use hazelnuts or you don't want to use coconuts and you just want to make one of them, just use 200 grams instead. Last but not least, you're also going to need 1 tablespoon of flour. I find it just gives everything a little bit more hold and it makes them not run out as much. But if you want to make these gluten-free, you can just leave out the flour. Now we're basically just going to start by whipping up our egg whites until we have some nice stiff peaks with our sugar. I'm just going to add my cinnamon as well. Once you have a nice, thick, gluey consistency like this, you're all set. Now I'm going to divide my egg mixture into 2 bowls because I'm making one with the hazelnut and one with the coconut. Now since I'm doing 2 batches, I'm also going to divide my flour in half and I'm just going to toss it with my dry ingredients. We're simply going to fold both of these into our egg whites until combined. The last thing we have to do is scoop these onto a pre-lined baking tray. I'm going to use an ice cream scoop, but you can just as easily use some tablespoons. These are going to go into the oven that's been preheated to 180 degrees Celsius or 360 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 to 20 minutes or until they're nice and golden brown. Now once they're done baking, these are usually pretty sticky, so I would recommend letting them cool off completely before trying to remove them off of your baking sheet. And even then, it also sometimes helps just sliding a knife at the bottom of your cookie to kind of loosen it. Our coconut macaroons are all done. Now, if you feel like it, you can drizzle on a little bit of chocolate, but I think I like them just like this. The last egg white cookie recipe that I have for you is for cinnamon stars. So for that, you're also going to need 2 egg whites or 1.5 really big egg whites, 125 grams of powdered sugar, 100 grams each of ground hazelnuts and almonds, and of course, a good teaspoon of cinnamon. Now, traditionally, these also get a little splash of rum extract, so I'm also going to add that. Now, like with our other cookies, we're going to start by whisking together our egg whites with our powdered sugar until we have a nice gloopy consistency. We're going to take out a couple spoons of our egg white mixture because we're going to need it for the glaze on top. Now we can gently fold in all the other ingredients until we have a nice dough. Now that we have a nice sticky dough, we can roll it out. Now you want to make sure to use powdered sugar to roll out your cinnamon stars and not flour. There's two ways to spread the glaze onto your cookies. The first way, which is the way that I would always usually do it, is I would cut out all of my little stars first and individually brush the glaze onto each cookie. But I saw someone do it a different way and it makes sense. You basically just spread the glaze all over your pre-cut out dough, and then you cut out your cookies. Because once you've cut out all your cookies, you're just going to knead the dough back together anyways, and this was part of the dough anyways, so it makes no difference. Mind blown. So we'll see if this actually works out now. These are going to go into the oven that's been preheated to 150 degrees Celsius or 302 degrees Fahrenheit for around 20 to 25 minutes. Our cinnamon stars are all cooled off and they are ready to be eaten. So that's going to be everything for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, you can give it a thumbs up or write me a comment down below. And as always, all 3 recipes are going to be in the description box as well.